Chapter 22, the RMS Titanic, Friday, April 12th, 1912, 8:55 a.m. A large leather-bound ledger swung out of nowhere and caught Seamus full in the face. The bodyguard staggered backward, blood pouring from a large nose that had been shattered yet again. "Help!" Alfie bellowed, waving the cargo manifest to keep Gilhooly at bay. The gangster's eyes narrowed with rage at the young steward. "You've made a grave mistake, laddie." But at that moment, running feet rattled the deck. Stewards and seamen converged on the spot from all directions. "Call the master-at-arms!" Alfie shouted. He reached through the rail and grasped Paddy by the wrist. Try as he might, he lacked the strength to have the smaller boy back aboard, or to heave the smaller boy back aboard. Crew members swarmed the spot, taking hold of Gilhooly and Seamus. Two sailors pulled Paddy up and over the side, getting his feet on the deck. "Are you all right, son?" asked the older of the two. In answer, Paddy turned tail and sprinted along the boat deck, leaving his rescuers staring after him open-mouthed. They had saved his life, and he was grateful, by God, but he was still a stowaway aboard this ship. And Paddy Burns had a talent for shifting his attention from one problem to the next with lightning speed. He hurdled the gate into first class and hoisted himself onto the broad metal grid. As he scrambled across, he looked down on the stained glass dome that covered the aft grand staircase. Jumping to the deck, he dodged his way through cranes and equipment and raced forward, now on the starboard side. He heard shouts behind him and pounding footfalls. Sure, he thought bitterly, two gangsters just tried to throw a 14-year-old boy overboard, but the White Star Line's chief concern is capturing me. There was no way he could hope to elude sailors on their own ship. He had to hide, now. He tried several doors along the superstructure, all locked. His eyes fell on the line of covered lifeboats. It would have to do. He climbed up to the nearest one and slipped under the tarpaulin. Furtively, he peered out to check for pursuit. The sailors had not appeared yet, but he was not entirely alone. There at the rail, staring straight at him, was the fancy girl with the diamond eardrops, the one who had looked at him with such contempt. There could be no question that she'd seen him, and also no question that she would turn him in. He was doomed. He caught sight of the pursuers then, and coming from the opposite direction, a single imposing figure in an officer's uniform, Light-Toller. Paddy ducked out of sight and secured the cover around the lifeboat. "Report!" the second officer barked. We've got two in custody," a sailor called back. "A right nasty pair of cutthroats. They tried to throw the boy overboard." "Who's the boy?" Light-Toller asked. "A stowaway, we think. He was that anxious to get away." Light-Toller turned to Juliana. "I'm sorry to trouble you, miss. Did you see the boy? I believe he's wearing a steward's uniform." Paddy's heart sank. Well, here it is, the end of the road. He had been saved, but only to be delivered into the hands of the White Star Line. He waited for the girl to expose his hiding place. "Yes, I did, Mr. Light-Toller," he heard Juliana announce. He was heading forward toward the wheelhouse. Paddy sat up in shock. Had the girl somehow overlooked him? No, impossible. She had watched him climb into this very lifeboat. Their eyes had met. He could still feel the sting of her scorn and disapproval. "Are you absolutely certain?" Light-Toller persisted. "I came from that way myself, and I didn't notice anyone." "Oh, yes," was Juliana's reply. "He was running very fast. Perhaps he crossed over to port, and you missed him." Paddy could not believe his ears. This rich girl, who had more wealth dangling from one ear than he could ever hope to touch in a lifetime, was protecting him. Why would she help him? No, this went far beyond help. She was lying to an officer, risking serious trouble. Aiding a stowaway was a crime. "Perhaps he did," came Light-Toller's voice once again, although he did not sound convinced. "This way, men." Paddy heard more running feet and then quiet. A moment later, a soft voice called, "Are you all right?" He peered up at her. The judgment was gone from her eyes, but her expression did not seem friendly. She looked stunned, as if taking Paddy's side had been even more bewildering to her than it had been to him. "Thank you for not turning me in, miss." "Those men almost killed you," she said, in horrified amazement. Paddy tried to smile. "We Belfasters are a friendly lot." He began to swing his leg over the side. I'll be on my way." "You'll stay right where you are," she countered in a sharp whisper. "I'll tell you when it's safe to come down." Paddy sat back in the curved bottom of the boat, hugging his knees to his chest. Quite an eventful morning, even by the standards of a Belfast street lad. Nearly murdered, and then nearly arrested by his rescuers. And now this, a helping hand from the last person he'd ever imagined would offer one. He patted his jacket, feeling Daniel's drawing against his heart. He would have given everything he had, which was nothing, mind you, to be back with his old friend in their abandoned print shop. Yet a fellow can find support and kindness in this pitiless world. It's out there, even aboard a ship of millionaires. You just had to look hard enough. Still, Paddy knew his position was precarious. There was something about that Mr. Lightoller, the hardness of his expression, the unyielding steel of his eyes. The second officer would never rest until the stowaway had been captured and brought to justice. He shifted, trying to fall into a comfortable position. Considering the size of the ship, the lifeboats were a lot smaller than he'd expected. Yet oddly, there didn't seem to be very many of them.